living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you, beloved. We love you. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way. We are going to a sacred place. We are now in sacred space. We are living in a state of grace. We are loving in a sacred way.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this special service at First Unitarian Church of Omaha. My name is Catherine Plumley, and I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of this congregation. Whether you're joining us in person or online, it is a special pleasure to welcome you here to install our not-so-new settled minister. Reverend Shari Woodbury began serving here in August of 2020. Her installation was postponed until we could gather in person with online worship too, and until we could joyfully sing together. That time has finally come, and nature has given us a beautiful day. Welcome back to members and friends who have not joined us in worship for a while. A special welcome as well to guests from other congregations, cities, and states who have journeyed here to support our church in this rite of passage. The presence of such guests is a reminder that our congregation is part of a wider community of Unitarian Universalists and cousins in other traditions who work together to support our churches and share our values in the world around us. Families, please note that there is a basket for busy hands for anyone whose listening is enhanced by activity. Kids are welcome to stay throughout this special service. Nursery care is available, and the service is also being streamed downstairs in the common room. Lastly, I want to acknowledge, as we do each time we gather here, that where we meet for worship is the land of the Omaha Oto Nations. We recognize that Indigenous people are still present among us, and we aim to work with them to address hardships that face Native peoples in our area today. I invite you now to join in singing the processional hymn, Wake Now My Senses, number 298 in the Gray Hymnal.
Please join in the call to worship by delivering the refrain with Catherine.
The refrain is printed in your program or for those online as shown on the screen. It is, "We hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth. When I gesture to you like so, you'll join me in saying it." Let's try that. We hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth. All right, let's begin.
As we gather to celebrate the season of birth and rebirth,
we hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth.
With spring comes the blossoming of plants and emerging patterns of life.
We hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth.
In this time of growth and reflection, let us draw closer to nature and each other.
We hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth.
In the continuing circle of life, giving thanks,
we hear the heartbeat of Mother Earth.
Good afternoon. My name is the Reverend Sharon Dittmar, and I'm a congregational life consultant with the Mid-America region of the UUA and an employee of our UUA. On behalf of both organizations, I bring you greeting and congratulations on the installation of the Reverend Shari Woodbury to your congregation, the First Unitarian Church of Omaha. Such a beautiful congregation in downtown Omaha, doing a vibrant ministry for over a century. Ministry between a minister and a congregation is a shared endeavor. This is not the ministry of one or the other. It is the ministry of all and you together. And it is a ministry not only for the members, but for the friends and for the community, and truly for the generations to come. Best wishes on all that you create together. The UUA is here for you in good times, in bad times, and in questionable times, which we've had quite a bit of lately. Best wishes in all that you do, and I hope you have a great day.
In a moment, our younger children will come forward to the chalice here in the sanctuary. Those at home may light your own chalice or candle as we do so. While the chalices are being lit, the choir will sing a chant written by our own Shari Woodbury. They will sing it multiple times, and the congregation is invited to join in on the last verse when choir director William Miller signals you to do so.
Like a bird to its nest, like a river Prayerful reflection. The world is awakening in a floral chorus. The life streams run anew with fresh, cool water. Birdsong and bee flight fill the room between things, and all the creatures of the earth and sky are stirring, starting again in the middle on this steady march towards home. The leaves renew upon the branch after their tryst to feed the soil. The grasses billow softly once more within the meadow, and flowers not yet named speak the promise of the turning and the returning and all the turnings yet to be. Spirit of the journey, spirit of changing, spirit of all the things that settle into love like lovebirds making roost in the hollow tree. We gather on this day that hope, chance, and the ground of being have provided, playing witness to these new depths of ministry, this settlement, this surrender, this installation, this statement of faith, where a multiplicity of livingness sings in harmony, saying, I am yours, I am yours. On this day of naming and claiming and settling into the bright boughs of love, may all that is good and right and growing be a nourishing water within these soils of possibility, be a gentle flame of compassion to illuminate tribulation, and be a breeze upon the plains of life where many winds meet to breathe a promise, a commitment to claim and name and seek the same love on all of our many journeys. Be amongst this congregation. Be amongst Reverend Shari, this servant of servants, and be about this installation as this righteous assembly, empowered by the love between us, brings in its own. And may the sun shine bright upon this ministry for the days, months, and all the years to come. So may it be. So may it be.
I would like to invite the young and the young at heart to join us for our story for all ages. And before we get started, I'd like to mention that our basket for busy hands in the back has activities that might be enjoyable for hands of all ages, one of which is a crossword puzzle all about Reverend Shari. And I realized that I neglected to bring the answer key, so if you have trouble or you want to check your work, I invite you to join us at 10:30 tomorrow for our Ask the Minister service. All right, today's story is On the Day You Were Born by Deborah Fraser, and it's one of Reverend Shari's favorite stories. It's often read when a new baby is born, obviously, but it's really about the universe celebrating change and new beginnings. So the author has dedicated it to Mother Earth, who was born 4.5 billion years ago, and to baby Kayla, who was born on January 1st, 1988. I forgot we have images now, so I can sit down with those of you up here. And to you. And I would like to dedicate it also to Reverend Shari for her new beginning with us here, and also for all of us with our new beginning coming back to the church after the pandemic. On the eve of your birth, word of your coming passed from animal to animal. The reindeer told the Arctic terns, who told the humpback whales, who told the Pacific salmon, who told the monarch butterflies, who told the green turtles, who told the European eel, who told the busy garden warblers, and the marvelous news migrated worldwide. While you waited in darkness, tiny knees curled to chin, the earth and her creatures, with the sun and the moon, all moved in their places, each ready to greet you, the very first moment of the very first day you arrived. On the day you were born, the round planet Earth turned toward your morning sky, whirling past darkness, spinning the night into light. On the day you were born, gravity's strong pull held you to the earth with a promise that you would never float away. While deep in space, the burning sun sent up towering flames, lighting your sky from dawn until dusk. On the day you were born, the quiet moon glowed and offered to bring a full, bright face each month to your windowsill. While high above the North Pole, Polaris, the glittering North Star, stood still, shining silver light into your night sky. On the day you were born, the moon pulled on the ocean below, and wave by wave, a rising tide washed the beaches clean for your new footprints. On the day you were born, a forest of tall trees collected the sun's light in their leaves, where, in silent mystery, they made oxygen for you to breathe. While close to your skin and high as the sky, air rushed in and blew about, invisibly protecting you and all living things on earth. On the day you were born, the earth turned, the moon pulled, the sun flared, and then, with a push, you slipped out of the dark quiet, where suddenly you could hear a circle of people singing with voices familiar and clear. Welcome to the spinning world, the people sang as they washed your new tiny hands. Welcome to the green earth, the people sang as they wrapped your wet, slippery body. And as they held you close, they whispered into your open, curving ear, "We are so glad you've come." So thank you. Welcome everyone to our spinning world, and we're so glad that we're all here. Thank you.
Let us ask, what is this thing we call ministry?
We must answer that ministry is a mixture of many things.
It is a scholarly profession, yet one that must be rooted in people's lives.
It is a social profession, yet often a lonely one.
It is seeking truth and also sharing it.
It involves finding meaning and making meaning.
It is caring for people as they are, and also for what they may become.
A minister is a human being, though sometimes called to rise above human limitations.
A minister is a fellow traveler in an ongoing quest.
A minister is a truth teller, a conscience to society.
A minister is a person who cares, with a shoulder to cry on.
And ministers themselves sometimes need to cry.
Ministry and ministers are many things, sometimes as different individuals, but always bound together in a tradition that spans centuries.
In our asking and answering about ministry, we may see a picture of our church, a reflection of ourselves, and a direction for our spiritual journey.
Unitarian Universalism is faith in people, hope for tomorrow's child, confidence in a continuity that spans all time. It looks not to a perfect heaven, but toward a good earth. It is respectful of the past, but not limited to it. It is trust in growing and conspiracy with change. It is spiritual responsibility for a moral tomorrow.
What a glorious day to be here. You know, years ago, I bought an old farmhouse, historic and gorgeous. And we started to rehab and remodel to bring new beauty without losing any of the elements that had been there. It was hard work. And of course, I recruited every available friend, family member, and passerby. And one weekend, we'd been doing all the wiring and the lights. And I was talking to my much youngest sibling, who was about 8. And we were talking about the brand new minister who had just started at my home church. I said, she's very nice. She's been there for a little while, but we're going to install her on Saturday. You can see where this is going. There was a long, confused pause, and you could watch the wheels turning. And cautiously, she finally said, like we installed the light in the kitchen? When I finished choking at the mental image of my new minister being screwed feet first into a large light socket, I explained a bit more that it wasn't like that at all, and she might have even understood what I was trying to tell her. But later, I started to think more about it, and I realized maybe it is a little bit like that after all. When a minister enters a congregation, our souls have a heavy and joyous weight. We're burdened by the awesome task before us, the work of bending the arc of the universe toward justice and wholeness, one day at a time, but the work is not ours alone. When you install a fresh new light bulb and it begins to shine, it doesn't do that. It can't do that just because it exists. When a light bulb comes out of the box and you hold it in your hand, it doesn't shine. It's not in the right place yet. In order for the light to shine, it needs that place to be fit into, a socket to call its own. It needs to be electrified by the current in the house. It needs to be protected from being shattered. And in return, it lights up the dim corners. It helps you to find what you're looking for. It brings a warm glow to the room and a light to the path. It shines when it's in the right place, and the light brightens everything it touches. And in that moment of light, everything is fresh and new and beautiful. Book of Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16 in the Christian Bible says, "You're the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to that which creates and sustains you." We're here today on this joyous occasion because you've called a minister, and together you make that lamp on a stand, ready to shine out in the hurting world. The light bulb alone is not the light, and neither is the socket or the current or the stand. But when they are brought together, they give light to everything in the house. We're here today for a sacred task, and we install in place one who you've called out from among you to minister to you. That minister will be many things: a prophet, a liturgist, a pastor, sometimes an activist, a dreamer of dreams, a poet, sometimes a fool. But they will also always be the light that you have installed. This is a moment of renewal, remodeling, change, joy. But just like adding a new light bulb doesn't make a new house, adding a new minister doesn't make it a new church. The fresh beam of light warms up everything it touches. This is a moment to start to shine fresh and new. Today you begin on a new adventure, carried on the shoulders of the giants who came before. Each time you enter into this space, light the way for one another. Comfort one another, be present with one another. Look out into the world together and carry your free faith, our free faith, outward into this desperately needy world, because you are that lamp on the hill. You're part of something bigger than yourselves, and with the help of your minister, it's your solemn task to never forget that you belong to a great cloud of witnesses, tasked with nothing less than the salvation of the world. You got to love those little tasks, don't you? Each life that enters your church for the first time or the 1,000th time is changed by what you will build here together. To steal some words from the musical Wicked, let them always be changed for both the better and the good. Let the story you are writing be one of healing and peace, of action and transformation. Let it shine. Welcome the changes as you go, because change means that life is happening and only death is eternally the same. Welcome new themes in your shared remodeling, rich new colors, bold new patterns, delicate details, subtle changes. Explore all of the textures and the fabrics that you have never used before. Clean off the ones you have used. Straighten the beloved structures, freshen up much-loved furniture. Build on what has come before and eagerly anticipate what is yet to come. Ministry is a shared task, and you are in this together. There's an awesome Hezekiah Walker song that was sung at GA a few years ago, and I've heard it since. I need you. You need me. We're all a part of one body. Stand with me, agree with me. You're so important to me, and I need you to survive. And that's part of the UU version of Walker's original, slightly more Christian words. But the point is clear, we're all part of something bigger. Together, you, the congregation, and the minister you've called to walk with you and roll with you and talk with you, you make something beautiful and complex and simple and difficult and wonderful. Together, you can let your light shine out. Some people say that ministry is like a marriage, and I can see that, but it isn't, not really. Ministry is the moment when the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Ministry is the call to send a warming glow into the world, to change the world 1 inch, 1 life, 1 decision, 1 tiny light bulb at a time. Ministry is the call to come together and shine. May you always shine. Amen.
Today, we take up a special collection in support of the professional ministry in our Unitarian Universalist faith. All donations will be used for this purpose, split equally between 2 recipients that aid UU ministry at large.
One of these recipients that aid UU ministry at large, one of these recipients is the Living Tradition Fund. administered by our National Unitarian Universalist Association. The Living Tradition Fund provides 3 types of support for ministry: a need-based scholarships for theological students, new minister assistance to reduce the burden of high educational debt and repayment, and emergency assistance grants to seminarians, ministers, other congregational staff, retired ministers, and their loved ones.
The other recipient is Meadville Lombard Theological School. Meadville is Reverend Woodbury's alma mater, one of 2 Unitarian Universalist identity schools in the country. It is our Traditions Seminary in the Midwest, located in Chicago. Shari benefited herself from a generous scholarship at Meadville Lombard, and she hopes that more ministers in the future can complete the demanding and expensive training process for ministry with less student debt.
For those in the sanctuary, ushers will pass the offering basket, so you may remain seated. Those online will find a donation link in the chat. I invite you to give in a spirit of abundance as you are able during a gift of music from the sanctuary singers.
In the
In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the authority and privilege of calling ministers rests solely with the congregation. After an extensive search process and a period of deep discernment from this congregation and from you, Shari, we voted unanimously in May of 2020 to call you as our minister. You said a heartfelt yes to that call. We have chosen one another as partners in a shared ministry. Since then, you moved with your family to this community, and you have begun serving this congregation and its mission of fostering the whole person, compassion, and justice. Shari, we recognize you for your calling and are joyful that you have chosen to serve here. Now on this day, we install you as our minister to live and serve, to learn and love with us. Shari, are you ready and willing to undertake the commitments of this ministry?
I am.
We gather today as a community of love and hope, united in our commitment to one another and our vision of a planet transformed by our care. We cherish the members, friends, and ministers who founded and built this congregation, and we recognize that our ministry remains a shared endeavor in which all of us has our part to play. Yet today, it is our special delight to install our new minister as a leader in the work of the church. Members of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in the words of installation. They are printed in the program and shown on screen for those at home. We, the members of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, seek a minister to be with us through joy and loss. We seek one who will journey with us, teaching and upholding our Unitarian Universalist values and traditions. We seek one who will lead with a prophetic voice, listen to our soul's yearnings, and share our message with the world. We are ready to install such a minister. We, the members of First Unitarian Church of Omaha, do hereby install you, Reverend Shari Woodbury, as the settled minister of our congregation. Shari, will you speak your truth in love? Will you model for us a life of integrity and balance? Will you minister to us in our joy and our sorrow? Will you invite us to experience lives transformed by community and shaped by the pursuit of justice? To the best of your ability, will you help to nurture, harness the potential of this community?
I will. I am honored and humbled by your trust.
I now invite all those gathered here to rise in body or spirit and join the members of this church in affirming this installation. Again, the affirmation is printed in the program or shown on the screen. We, the gathered congregation of family, friends, and colleagues, recognize and affirm you as the minister of this church. We rejoice with you and offer you continuing friendship and support. May you, your ministry, and all those you serve be blessed.
I accept the call to ministry with respect and gratitude for those who came before me, the founders who established this church, the lay leaders and religious professionals who have helped it to grow and flourish, and all who have participated in its mission. My gratitude goes out as well to my family, friends, and colleagues who support me in this calling. With the continuing support of all named here, and with trust in the greater love that surrounds us all, I joyfully embrace the ministry into which you have called me.
You may be seated. Thank you. And now we will have the exchange of gifts.
Congregations often present a gift to the minister on an occasion like this one. I wanted to reciprocate and give a gift to the congregation. In a larger sense, the gift is helping this community to connect more deeply with the earth, with the place that we call home, bringing into the sacred space of this sanctuary in a palpable way our connection to the land, this eco-community in which we live and worship. The installation team and others have helped to do that today with fabric and flowers and music that uplift this connectedness. I also have commissioned a gift for the congregation. This turns out to have been more of a teaser today, as the item is not complete yet. I wanted to work with a local artist, and it took some time to find the right person who was interested in the commission and could pull off the aesthetic that I was looking for. When I did find such a person, he was busy preparing for an upcoming show. He's there this weekend. So today I can only share a preview of what is coming. I anticipate presenting the special item to you by our Earth Day service at the end of this month. It'll go right here, a large new chalice for our sanctuary. Potter Thomas Hamilton, who was part of the Artists Cooperative downtown, is creating it. Our new chalice will evoke the local landscape of rivers and woods in its colors and design. Each time we light our chalice, it will call us back into a spirit of reverence and interconnectedness with Mother Earth. As I said, I anticipate presenting it properly to you on Earth Day service, and I hope that you will love it.
And now I invite Kim Callahan and Jean Wagner to present their gift, the congregation's gift, to Reverend Shari. This river stole was designed and made for you by hand. Two mighty rivers, the Mississippi and the Missouri, flow past the facade of our beloved church and around to the chalice. The waters are surrounded by terraced fields, prairie grasses, wetlands, and row crops. Milkweed and coneflowers, goldenrods and sunflowers, cattails, phlox, and scylla grow on the lands of the Oto and Omaha tribes. The glow of fellowship surrounds our church and chalice. We hope you will feel welcomed and warmed when you wear this stole.
It is good to be together. Congratulations, you have done a thing, particularly for the members of the search committee. You have done a very long thing. My name is the Reverend Oscar Sinclair. I serve as the senior minister just down the road at the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. And over the last few years, I've grown to know and care for this congregation through friendships with ministers and staff here, as well as working with the Ministerial Search Committee. So when I tell you that I care for First Unitarian Church of Omaha, know that it is not just the care of a neighbor. I've heard the stories of this place and know that they are blessed and good. And it has been a joy over the last 2 years to get to know Shari. As a colleague in ministry and as a friend, I've come to know her as a source of wise counsel, a generous collaborator, a colleague who reaches out in relationship, and an avid player of board games. So I know you as a healthy, vibrant congregation who has called a wise and vibrant minister. This is a good start to a wonderful shared ministry. Shari has invited me to give the charge to the congregation this afternoon, though, so it falls to me to formally tell you, members of the First Unitarian Church of Omaha, Nebraska, don't mess this up. I was told this would be an all-ages service, so I have to say it like that. Jack Mendelson of blessed memory wrote that the future of the liberal church is almost totally dependent on two factors: great congregations, whether large and small, and effective, dedicated ministers. The strangest feature of this relationship is that they create each other. You have the tools to create that together. Now you are charged to use them. Use them. Use your congregational covenant to create a religious community where you can freely explore your values and foster diversity as a source of communal strength. Use your tools. Practice direct communication. Don't be Nebraska nice as a way to get out of arguments. When you are wounded, say so. When you have wounded, apologize and do better. Reach out to your neighbors. Do not be isolated. By the end of this congregational year, we will have 3 Unitarian Universalist congregations in Nebraska with relatively new ministries. That is a tool to use. And last, appreciate each other. Leadership in religious communities is often a lonely role, where you hear mostly from the people who are angry or disappointed in you. This congregation has committed passionate leaders, from the board to the search committee to your staff and minister. Appreciate the gifts that they all bring. Appreciate the gifts that you all bring to this place. And because it is easier to say this part outside the system, don't just passively appreciate your staff. Compensate them well for their work. Honor their time off. Send them thank you notes. You have no idea how much that little moment can turn around a week. So do all of these things because Omaha needs you. This place, this time, needs a thriving Unitarian Universalism. We have some big opportunities here in Nebraska, and we have some big, big challenges. So we need you to be a great, effective, dedicated ministry and congregation. The future of the liberal church depends on that. And this state needs a healthy liberal church. So it is your charge today to build that church. Not through accomplishing great things, but how you will be together. Don't mess it up. One last thing. Of course you'll mess it up. Of course you will. That is the nature of a church. That is the nature of humanity. That is the nature of being in relationship with each other. You will say things you regret, miss opportunities, get in fights with each other and your minister over little inconsequential stuff and big important stuff. And when you do, not if, but when, remember this last charge. We are a covenantal faith. Covenants are aspirational. We are constantly called back to love. In the charge to the congregation at my ordination, Reverend Jean Pupke quoted the theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. who said, "Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we must be saved by love." Allow yourself to be saved by love and be called back to it. In all of this, remember that you have congregations across the state and region rooting for you. May your ministry together be blessed and a blessing. Amen.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Kendall Gibbons, Senior Minister at All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church in Kansas City, and I think one of the deans of senior ministers here in the Midwest. It is always a joyful and humbling experience to participate in the formal creation of the covenant of ministry, such as we celebrate here today. My assignment is to offer you, Shari, some sage advice about your role in the successful sustenance of this covenant over time, if we are all fortunate for many years to come. And so I invite you to join me. Many high-minded ideals have been invoked over the course of this hour. Allow me to approach my own assignment at a more practical level. I charge you, first of all, to remember that you are not the servant of these people. No matter how much you may come to love them and they you, but rather that you all are called to be the servants of the Most High together. In that capacity, you must be prepared sometimes to make difficult decisions, to give unpalatable advice, to speak uncomfortable truth to people you love, and to take unpopular stands. The courage and resolution to do this can only come from your centered certainty that you are answerable to a higher standard than popularity or making people immediately pleased with you. Secondly, on behalf of these people, I charge you to remember that it is their church, not yours. They have a common history that shapes who they are, which has its roots long before your ministry to them. They must have a vision of a shared future that extends beyond your presence. Even if you were to end your days here decades from now, there are wounds they have that you will never fully understand, let alone heal. There are yearnings they feel that will not fire your blood. Only by honoring the uniqueness in each other can you and they ever connect in the kind of mutual ministry that has the power to transform our brokenness. Listen to them. Challenge them, teach them, touch them, call them to repentance, and go thither yourself sometimes. Be with them in pain, make them laugh at their follies and your own. Engage them, feed them the bread of life passed through the fire of thought. But do not seek to mold them or tell them what to think or ever make them anything less than wholly themselves. Respect what they have been and done during the chapters of the past. Honor their traditions and the memories of those whose love and labor made today and tomorrow possible. Next, I charge you to remember that the ways in which community dynamics operate are seldom straightforward forces of cause and effect. Like the image of a mobile in which every piece responds with a jangle when another seemingly separate piece is touched, the institutional church moves according to connections that are often irrational, invisible, and indirect. Group dynamics theory suggests that there are more pathogens at large in any environment than can possibly be manifested in infection in any one organic entity. There never could or will be an environment free of pathogens. So your task as a leader is to nurture the immune system so that the organism can thrive even in the presence of potential infection. Keep your own boundaries healthy and appropriately permeable, and encourage others to do the same. Be a differentiated self, seeking to grow and connect in life-giving ways. Do not urge people to follow your leadership. Rather, live in honesty, wholeness, and happiness, and others will clamor to learn your secret. Return the authority that those you lead will try to relinquish into your hands, not by seeking to refuse it, but by using it to teach them their own power. And trust that with such nurturing, institutional health will unfold over time. Finally, as you enter into covenant with the members of this congregation, I charge you also to remember us, your fellow professionals in religious leadership, and to continue to measure your conduct so as to uphold the honor of the office of the ministry. Your colleagues do not require you to be perfect, but we do expect you to use common sense and to respect the hard-won wisdom of what constitutes good practice in the exercise of ministry. Set healthy limits, maintain your self-awareness and integrity. Stay deeply nourished in the various physical, emotional, creative, and spiritual dimensions of your life. The gospel of your preaching can only be as effective as the testimony of your own example. So, my dear colleague, I charge you, serve the highest good together with your people. Respect their collective identity and integrity even as you nurture their growth. Understand that institutional dynamics are rarely straightforward. Be accountable to our best wisdom in the honorable practice of our profession. Thus, I charge you at the formal beginning of your ministry here among us and welcome you into this fellowship of colleagues and co-workers. May the vocation that has brought you to this place continue to sustain and challenge you. May it call forth your most faithful labor, your truest self, and your best life. And may it be the source of many bright blessings for all whose lives you will touch.
perform an act of installation. Traditionally, everyone present engages in an embodied act of blessing or well-wishing the shared ministry and the minister. Today, as Reverend Shari and you, this congregation of First Unitarian of Omaha, are coming home to this new ministry, we'll be doing this embodied blessing with local river rocks and water from this congregation's water ingathering. It is good that we use these in this blessing of shared ministry, for this place is shaped by rivers and all that they create. From the beginning, humans have built homes and communities near water. We are drawn to water, and we are drawn together by water. For we all come from water. Life began in the oceans. Everything that lives needs water. From the smallest bugs to the plants that create the air we breathe and feed us, to the largest whales, our bodies are mostly made of water. And the water that we have today is the same water that we've had for thousands of years, and it connects us to the past, the future, and all of life in amazing ways. Water is life. And like water that moves through the water cycle, scattering into rains, streams, oceans, clouds, becoming parts of plants and animals, and cycling again and again to come back together in new ways. We humans are separate, and we come together. We come together in congregations, and as congregations, we come back together each fall, each year, in our water ingathering, which gives us this water that we have here today. The water that each person adds during this ritual brings together, mingles with other water, reflecting how our lives intertwine, giving us deeper and richer, more fluid and more fun life. Connecting with the flow and with our understanding of home, the stones that we'll be using today, you may have gotten one of these when you came in. The stones we'll be using today for this communal blessing ritual were collected from the Platte River Valley. These rocks represent our base, our foundation, something solid that remains, yet also changes with time and with the forces of life. If you're here in the sanctuary, I invite you to hold the stone that you were given when you came in. If you're at home, I encourage you to find a stone or a similar natural object to hold. If you don't have one nearby, I invite you to simply think or speak your blessings. In a moment, as the music plays, I invite you to hold your stone and imbue it with blessings, with well wishes, with your love for this shared ministry. After you've been holding your stones for a little while, ushers will begin passing down the aisles with baskets to collect the stones and bring them forward. After today's ritual, these stones will be used in special places around this congregation's building and grounds. Physical reminders of your blessings, your well wishes, your love in the good times and in the difficult times. And so, Reverend Shari, will you come forward? And now, let us begin this blessing as Stan plays. Like the water that is held here, congregations and ministries change our forms and our paths and patterns. And yet, there's always a constant flow and something that remains forever. We are always connected to what has come before and to all of life. And so, Reverend Shari, today, as you're installed as this congregation's settled minister, may these mingled waters that will flow over your hands remind you and all of us that our beloved community is a place where we share the flow of our hearts and our lives with one another and encourage each other to growth that we may ever live love more fully and fiercely into this world. In this shared ministry, may you and this congregation share the fountains of your joys, the wells of your griefs, the wonder of your growth and your strength. May you guide one another through the rapids of transformation and storms that come upon you unexpectedly, and rest together on ponds of stillness. Be blessed as you are a blessing to this congregation. Blessed be.
Let us rise this day as one body, stretching toward tomorrow. May this community be like a tree awakening after the long, long winter, through its deep roots, fed by the refreshing rains of spring and nourished by the warmth of the sun, which we have today. Branches reaching, buds forming, giving forth blooms for a new season. Let us go forth from this time together renewed and ready for bright days ahead. So may it be. Amen.
After the postlude, please join us out in the parking lot to celebrate with food, sparkling juice, games, and fellowship. If any of our members or friends have not yet turned in your pledge form for the stewardship campaign, John Goldner will be at the stewardship table, happy to help you. And we will all enjoy this beautiful day with our newly installed minister.
Celebration, everybody. Sing along if you know the words. I think you might.